What's up everyone, Power's back again after that slightly harebrained last video, coming at you with a Chao Garden tips and tricks video on the GameCube based on my personal experience. Video is broken up into two larger sections and one smaller section, so let's get right into it. Alright everyone, first section of the video is just going to be general Chao information on what you need to know based on color differences, rarities, how to obtain certain Chaos, age progression, and stats, and mortality. So we'll go over things like that, as well as first and second evolution, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so starting off with Chao types and color differences. When you first unlock the Chao Garden, you'll have the neutral garden, and I believe that'll provide you with two just normal type Chaos, and this is the one that I have left. The other one is Aqua that I have transformed into the neutral Chaos Chao. So you'll get two of these, which are, they start off as the blue and yellow, kind of like the Chao Island text, or the Chao World text. So blue and yellow infants, and they get this kind of white, yellow, and blue look once they become first and second evolution adults. So there's that. You'll notice that you'll want to keep these happy, healthy, and just reincarnated every lifetime. I turned the one into a Chaos Chao, but you'll want to keep one around in case you're trying to breed for, say, a two-tone Chao of the color that you want, or just any other need for a normal Chao if you want to make a shiny normal. So that's the first type of Chao. Then after that, you'll be able to purchase Monotone Eggs from the black market in the Chao world, and they'll have set eggs for your save file. When you create the file, you'll have, I believe, 2 of the 3 color sets that are possible for the black market. So that's where a second memory card may come in handy if you're looking for a certain type that you didn't have, or you just want to collect them all eventually. So speaking of the single color, just trying to find where they all ended up here. Alright, and after the normal Chao that you start with, like I said, you'll be able to purchase the Monotone Eggs. Based on their rarity, they'll show up in the shop based on how many emblems you have. So, of course, I name my Chao based on their stats when they're born until they're finally S rank and I decide to name them. So that's the goofy name there. But this is a monotone green, so several other colors available, just depending on what random colors you get in the market. So there's that. Now that I just showed you the green monotone, we'll go up and show you the two-tone skin type, which is similar to the normal Chao, which had the two-tone of the white and blue. But these are based on colored eggs that you buy from the shop, or whichever ones you choose. Alright, so this is Guac. As you can see, it's a green Chao, but the hands, tips of the feet, and the tips of the bulb are a darker green, showing the two-tone trait there. You'll have to breed for that. You can't buy those. They only come in the normal Chao that start in the garden, and then you have to breed for them. So you can do that, and then a step above that is a shiny two-tone. So you can apply the shiny skin color on top of the two-tone gene. That just takes a little bit of work. Alright, so I spoke of shiny two-tone Chaos, but I don't have one yet. I'm using these gray here and another shiny gray to try and get a shiny two-tone gray. But a step above the shiny two-tone Chao would be these jewel Chao, which you can't get normally in this game. So it takes a little bit of work. It requires a Game Boy Advance and one of the Sonic Advance games that has access to what's called the Tiny Chao Garden. So you'll have to play through the story mode and find the secret Chaos Emerald levels and beat the secret level on each one. It's like 7 of them, I believe. So you have to do that to unlock the Tiny Chao Garden, and then once you do that, you can play mini games to unlock rings, or you can play through levels of the story mode repeatedly to save up 20,000 rings to buy the Onyx Jewel Chao. The silver is the first one available, which I have as well, but I decided to save up for this just because it was a long-term goal of mine that I've always had set. So these are very hard to get, and don't really plan on getting rid of them. I've been approached in the past about wanting to have one transferred or helping out, but it's just too much work on my end to even think of how I would quantify that in a dollar amount. So that's the shiny jewel, or that's the jewel Chao there. And then a step above that, if you will, is called the shiny jewel Chao, which is what all my transparent Chao here, like this blue one, Pixel, who's in a bit of a mood right now, or Deli here, the transparent green one with the glitched hands. So that you require, it's any jewel Chao. You can have the cheapest jewel Chao, the silver one, which is like 500 rings or 1,000 rings or 2,000, I can't remember, on the tiny Chao garden. But the skin tone of the Chao relies on what shiny color you have. So there's guides that can tell you which color will produce which transparent Chao, or even an invisible Chao, which I have in my neutral garden. So you can pick and choose which colors you want to work for there and try and breed the shiny jewel Chao. Alright, another important aspect in the Chao raising is their age. I've heard that Chao achieve a faster first evolution in the hero garden. Not sure if it's entirely true, but it's easiest for me to just raise them in the hero garden, so that's why most of my Chao are hero at the moment until they become chaos Chao. So Chao age, first evolution will become about 1 to 3 hours. I'm not sure if it's random or not, but it's probably just going to be a couple or a few hours to noticeably go into the cocoon and get their adult form and change their physical appearance. So that'll happen after just about a few hours or so, and then you'll have to choose which alignment you want, obviously, before then raise them with hero and dark, or just hero or dark, respectively. So once you go through first evolution, Chao will slowly go through second evolution. There's not going to be a cocoon or any immediately noticeable difference. It's going to be slowly over time as you give them different animals or chaos drives of a certain type. So second evolution will go until their reincarnation, which is usually around 4, maybe 5 Chao years, which is, several hours in garden. So it takes certain techniques if you have to either consistently watch over the Chao, feed them fruit, or if you want to hang out in the water, and other things that I'll get into later as you're raising the Chao. So that's what happens once they get up to age 4 or 5, they'll reincarnate, and there's a few things that come along with that as well. So as you can see, there's levels and points for each skill, but what's only shown in the doctor's office is their rank from F to S, or D to S, whichever one it is. I'm not exactly sure what the lowest is, but stat ranks is what influence the points once you level them up. If you have an S rank stat, it'll get anywhere from 31 down to, I believe, 26 points per level, and it's a random roll from those numbers each time, and down from there, if you're an S stat, or excuse me, if you're an A stat, it'll be 25 down to, say, 19, B stat 18 down to so and so down the line. You get it, it's 5 or 6 per rank. So getting as many levels as you can at the highest stat rank possible will get you the most points, which is what you want in the long run, not just the max level of 99. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about the stats and the points and everything, just briefly. I'll get more into it in the next section about raising the Chao, but I mentioned the age and reincarnation briefly. Chao will reincarnate if they're happy enough. It's pretty easy if you just take well enough care of your Chao and watch them and feed them. It's not too hard. Certain Chaos will not, however. There's certain Chaos that are immortal, a couple of them being the Tails Chao here. That's a special Chao that you have to unlock from a separate game and do a series of events. So that's immortal and won't reincarnate, won't breed or anything. And then all of my Chaos Chao as well are immortal and won't be able to breed or reincarnate or pass away. So just keep that in mind. If you're making a Chaos Chao, you won't be able to breed them or raise their stat value anymore. So that's kind of a good bit of first information there, just general Chao info. So I'll kind of get into the next section now on raising the Chao. Alright everyone, here we are into the second section of the video on how I raise and breed my Chao, just the whole process, locations, animals, and just any certain tips and tricks that help along the way. So when you're raising your Chao, there's 21 total animals in this game that if you're looking to make a Chaos Chao, you're going to have to interact with and find eventually. Alright, so here's one of the animals. It's one of the Undead or Colorless Animals. It's a skeleton dog. I'll use this to help show you a couple tips while raising Chao. Over here, there's this fallen pillar that's probably used by most people, or at least me, myself. So there's kind of a zone in here that you see even Sonic will kind of get caught up in himself if you walk a certain way. So if you notice here, take a Chao, put it down here, they'll usually get stuck. If they're affectionate enough to the character that you're on right now, they'll do the kind of skipping animation and they'll be able to break out. But right there, usually they'll just run into the wall like that, get confused, or they'll just kind of hang out there. And you can set them in proximity like this to get them to face you. And then I usually do a 1-2 like that, and see right there how he broke out and did the jogging animation right there to come get some love. You'll just set it down in front of them, and you can glitch the animal so you can just pick it up and it doesn't fly away like that. Like, see, I can't use this animal again because it walked into it and took it from me. But if I would have put this down right in front of it instead of it walking into it, it would have had infinite uses, and I could have kept going until either it got a 99 in the skill or I was just done with the animal. So like I mentioned, there's 21 animals. I just showed you the one skeleton dog just to kind of show you the glitch, even though I got it unsuccessfully there. 21 animals. There's 3 power, run, swim, fly, the colorless or undead like I said, and then there's 3 rare animals that have an orange border around them, which you get from breaking open the Chao boxes in each of the levels. So there's a unicorn, a dragon, and a phoenix, which are all relatively easy to get. Alright everyone, we're here in the menu for a second. I'm just going to show you quick locations and some animals that I used. When I'm maxing a Chao that I want to have reincarnation points, just get to level 99 and have the max points possible. There's a few animals that I use. I like to start off with condors, just because they give 6 points in fly and pretty decent points in 2 other stats. So they raise 3 at once, whereas most either raise 2 or only 1 and take away another skill at the same time. So here in Wild Canyon is where I get my condors from. After the condors, I usually go to seal because condors raise fly, a little bit of swim, and I believe a little bit of power. It's probably power. I'd say power. I don't know, it raises 3 things, forgive me. Alright, so after the condor, I like to go for seals over here since they raise swim and a little bit of power. We'll stop in at Metal Harbor here, and you'll be able to find 3 or so along the way, depending on your luck with Chao boxes. And after the seal, I like to come over here to the Tails level hidden base. There's a tiger pretty early on in the level, so it's easy to get. Just gotta blast a few things and break a box, and that'll help finish off the power stat. And then after I do the power, I usually like to do a run, and I usually go back to Wild Canyon for this one, so I won't click into that one again, but there's a cheetah pretty close to the beginning that you can just exit or reset and farm that if you just need a few. So those are the animals I use when I'm raising Chao to max their stats and make a Chaos Chao. I'm gonna go pick one up really quick because I'm gonna show you a tip that will save you a little bit of time if you're maxing multiple Chaos like I do. Alright, so we're heading back into Chao World. I'm gonna be on Sonic, but I still have the cheetah I collected as Knuckles. What I mean is, to save time when you're maxing multiple Chao, condors, their main stat raise is fly, and it'll give you 6 of the little experience bubbles. Like, let me find Tails or Deli so they don't get any cheetah parts. Alright, so underneath the red bar, those little dots are, percentage of experience that they get. So I'll go get the cheetah and I'll show you. It should give about 4 or 5 run experience. So it's pretty close to the condor. So you notice how slow that 4 was. If you're doing something that gives 5 or 6 experience points, like the condor or a cheetah or something fast like that, you can put it down, and then once it goes, pick it up and put it down again after 2. If you watch the experience bulbs go, you can put it down again after about 2 or 2.5 if you're, you know, trying to play it a little safe. Just watch the experience bulbs go, and you can save your time. Instead of having to wait for 6 or more, you can, you know, go after 2 or 3, and that'll save you a little bit of time if you're doing a lot like I do. Alright, so that's kind of my approach for the long run there, but back in the beginning, you'll need some tips for first evolution. When they go into the cocoon, whichever stat they've had the most influence on, i.e. animals or Chao drives, chaos drives, I mainly use animals just for, they give faster experience and hidden stats as well. Maybe less than the chaos drives for the hidden stats, but can't see them on GameCube anyway. So for first evolution, whichever stat they are the most partial to, i.e. swim, run, fly, or power, based on the color of animal, when they come out of their cocoon, say they had an A stat, it will be promoted to an S. So that's how you want to breed your Chao to make them perfect, or just increase a stat that you want to be better. You need to reincarnate them multiple times, or just a set amount of times for a chaos Chao, but that's how you make them better. So it'll go up one stat grade every first evolution. And while you're waiting for that to happen, some Chao will want to, you know, walk into the water. Say it's not the swim stat that you're raising first, so they won't be able to swim. You can get them 100 swim points before you start raising the stat that you want to increase to make them partial to that skill. You can get them 100 swim points so they won't drown or cry if you're away from the game or whatever. So that's just a small tip there. I already mentioned reincarnation points, I believe, but what I meant was once you max your Chao, or you just get the stats to the point that you want, and they reach their 4th or 5th year and are going to reincarnate, they will get 10% of the points back on rebirth. So it'll be, if it's their first reincarnation, they'll start at level 1 and they'll have 10% of the points that they had in that skill. So if I reincarnated Pixel right now, their swim would go, since this is their 2nd reincarnation or 3rd, it'll be level 2 or level 3, and it'll have 303 points, since that is, it'll have 303 or 304 points, since that is 10% of what their value is right now. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why I max all my Chao every lifetime, because if you max them once and you get the points and then you don't train them up at all that 2nd lifetime, they're going to lose what they got from the 1st lifetime. So that's why you want to kind of stay on the grind of maxing them out. So if you're looking to either make a perfect Chao by breeding, or you got a good roll from the shop and you just need to finish off 1 stat or 2 stats and you have to do a little bit of breeding, it is easy to muddle the genes. So depending on what you want, if you don't really care, you just want stats, you can breed whatever Chao you want and just keep going for the stats. But if you're breeding for a specific type or color, you're going to want to get either one of the normal Chao that you had in the garden to start with, or just 2 of that Chao that you can either breed or buy from the shop, because there are dominant and recessive genes. So if you get down the line and you're pretty close to finishing a perfect Chao, and there's like a deep recessive monotone green gene, you're gonna see it, trust me. I've bred enough Chao to get every possible recessive gene that I have in my pool to show up. So I've seen some weird combinations. So just keep that in mind if you're going for the long haul. Just correct it from the beginning with either 2 of the same Chao, or the right combination that you know leads to the end game Chao that you want. And the way you succeed in that endeavor is by not manipulating, but just reusing your heart fruit. So make sure you have a space or 2 open in the garden, and if you have to go do a few runs of City Escape or any other level you like to do just to pass the game time, you'll reset the black market until the heart fruits show up, and you can go drop them in the garden here. I usually just put them right by the entrance, so no Chao really kind of want to come up and eat them casually if it's not the 2 that I'm trying to breed. And then you'll leave the garden, you'll exit and save, and then when you come back in, the fruit will still be there. So like, you can come back in as either which character you want, it doesn't matter really if you're breeding, but you'll come in, go into the garden that you want, wherever the fruit is. Like I said, I always do the hero garden, and then the fruit will be there. You give it to the Chao, they'll breed the egg. There's different hatching methods that you could do. I prefer to pick up the egg, and if you hold something, like hold B when you pick it up, and then you do directional left to right, it'll start to shake it like this. And I usually just count shaking like 11 to 14 times, just whatever I think will be lucky at that time, but usually 11 is a good, 10 or 11 is a good for sure, where it'll hatch once you put it down. So that's how I do that. And as you saw in the intro to my video, I've bred a decent bit and bought a decent bit of chow, so there's 8 in every single garden, meaning that it's full. So you're going to have to utilize the class mechanic if you want to move some chow around and not have them shuffle randomly, because I've moved them around when each garden is full, and it kind of just, you move one and it puts 2 in the wrong garden, and it does its own thing. So you just have to use the class or a second memory card if you want to transfer some over there. Like I have a shiny pink and a 4S Onyx Chow on a separate memory card just because I ran out of space, and this memory card didn't have access to pink eggs. So I had to breed the shiny pink egg, like I mentioned earlier, to get the invisible chow that I've been wanting. And if you're worried about your chow, like I said, they can reincarnate or pass away if you don't take care of them. Time freezes in the gardens that you're not in. So time is only progressing in the hero garden right now for me. So my infant chow and older chow in the other gardens that may reincarnate aren't going to do anything right now unless I go down and spend that time in the garden. So you don't have to worry about that if you're doing most of your training in the hero garden like I do. Alright, so once you get the color chow you want, rarity from either jewel chow, shiny jewel chow, or whatever you feel, you might think about turning them into a chaos chow. So I'll just get into that briefly. There's a few requirements. The chow has to be in their second lifetime. So like I said, each chow will reincarnate after about 4 or 5 chow years. So that's going to take several hours in the garden. And if they're happy, they'll reincarnate and they'll be in their second lifetime. But they have to go through that also. It's not just second lifetime, it has to be 2 reincarnations. So your chow will go through the second lifetime, and that's why it's kind of nice. You have 2 opportunities that are mandatory. Say you make a chow with a B rank stat or an A rank stat that has to be raised through first evolution once or twice. It's mandatory before chaos anyway, so you have the chance to do that and get reincarnation points to max them as much as you can. So that's the first requirement. It's got to be in its 3rd lifetime technically. So that's the first, and then once it reaches its 3rd lifetime, don't give it any chaos drives at all. It can only receive animals at that point. And in my personal experience, make sure a boar is not the last or one of the last animals that you give it. As you can see, well, you may not be able to notice, but there's supposed to be claws on Deli's hands here. But if you give your chow a boar, it will shorten the arms and put a stubby hoof on the end that is shorter than a regular chow arm. And that's what I believe happened here with these glitched arms. So make sure you give a boar first. But for me, I just prefer to give 1 of each animal. It's been stated, maybe even proven, that you can give more, but just not too much, as long as it's a fairly even spread of each animal. So that's why I just prefer to stick to 1. Just make a checklist and give them 1 of each, and then you're good to go. If you want to raise it neutral, that's a little more stressful. Like Deli here, you'll have to switch between hero and dark characters, but it's pretty easy to tell. Like these hero characters usually have more kind of like rounded heads like this, and dark chow kind of have more of an extended back of the head. So it's just, there's certain subtleties that you can pick up on while you're raising your chow if you're trying to make a neutral chaos chow. But if you're trying to make a hero or dark, there's certain animals that you can only get on hero or dark character levels. So you just need to put them in the garden and then switch to whichever character you want, and they'll be there when you come back, and you can give it to the chow with the character that you want. So that's how you kind of approach that. Now, either once you're just trying to pass the time for a specific chow to reincarnate, or you've completed the chaos process and you're waiting for the first evolution, I'd mention chows looking for attention, so you can either stand in the water here so they can't approach you and they'll just either swim around and go eat food or do whatever. Or if you want to go a little fancy with it, you can time it to where you just come up here and do a little ledge hang like this, just kind of chill there. Just kind of a goofy little thing you can do if you don't want to sit in the water. Just switch it up like that. And from my experience, as you can tell already, multiple fruits spawn over here. They just drop down from the tree, so you don't even have to go over there and shake them if you want to raise some Chao's stamina. They pick up all the fruit over here on their own, so if you just want to immediately grab one, there's usually 5 or more sitting over here that you can just pick up and bring to a Chao that you want, instead of sitting here grabbing the tree, shaking it for 5 or 10 seconds, however long it is, till the fruit falls off. See, like right there, that just took a little longer than probably would have wanted, but that's why I just usually either bring the Chao over here or pick the fruit up and do that. Alright, so you all saw me with the skeleton dog. One of the reasons I got that was because if I didn't find the Tails Chao or a Chaos Chao to give it to, I didn't want any animal parts going on it. And the skeleton dog will remove animal parts. Say, like, when you give it to them, they'll get like wings, arms, feet, tail, stuff on the head. You can remove those one by one if you give them skeleton dogs. So that's the purpose of that. So the half fish will replace the halo, spike ball, or round ball above the Chao's head with the flame, like the Dark Chaos Chao. So if you want to get a non-Chaos Chao with the flame above its head, you'll need the half fish, and then hope you can skeleton dog the other parts away and keep the flame. I managed in the past to make a neutral Chaos Chao that kept the flame on its head instead of the light ball when it reincarnated into a Chaos Chao, but as soon as I gave it another animal to raise its stats, it went back to the light ball. So if you want a rare glitch Chao like that, you can go for that. Just don't feed it any other animals once it becomes a Chaos Chao. And then the bat will remove the legs. It might remove parts as well, like the skeleton dog, but it will remove the Chao's actual legs. So it'll have like a wispy tail, and it'll just float around instead of walking on the Chao feet. Alright everyone, that's going to be about it for section 2 of the video. Just going to finish it up here with a small section 3 leading into the outro. I just got a few more tips that I feel like need to be said just to protect the overall integrity of your game. First of all, biggest one being, save whenever you can. Just even if you're in the middle of something, got a bunch of animals in the garden, don't want to take a break, just go ahead and save. Trust me, you're going to want to do it, because it's rarely happened to me, but there's been times where my GameCube has encountered an error reading the disc, and I have to restart, and then I lose whatever data was unsaved. So if I was in the middle of maxing a Chao or breeding something, you'd obviously have to redo all those levels or try to get that same breeding outcome, which may take several more minutes or hours, just depending on whatever you were doing. So just save whenever you can to deter any GameCube issues that may come up. But another issue I heard of is for those of you playing on Wii, if that's the case. I've heard of Wii consoles corrupting GameCube memory cards, thus ruining childhood save files or hours of work that adults have put in, just anything like that. So just always be cautious, save when you can, and if you can play on an original GameCube or whatever you prefer, just keep those things in mind. Also, just another tip, just because I like friendly competition to test out the Chao that I've been raising, see what's what skills compared to the other. I like to do party races against the Chao and party karate, so I'm not sure if it keeps track of those wins or losses in the Chao Doctor record sheet, but if you're going to do that, you're going to definitely need 2 to 4 controllers. For karate, you'll only need 2, but if you want to put 4 or more Chao, I think it's only 4. If you want to put 4 Chao against each other, you're going to need 4 GameCube controllers, 1 for each slot. That's just unfortunately how it is for GameCube. It's a little more accessible on PC, but this is just what I prefer, so that's what I'm stuck with. Another cool thing, just not a lot of people care to do it, but I have my eggshell trophies here. You can either do that from eggs you buy from the shop, such as the green egg here or the gray egg here, but I only kept the onyx egg here just because you can sell them for gold, or they clutter up the garden, or you can put it on a Chao's head, but I just don't particularly like the eggshell look, even if it is a rare shell, so I just keep a few here. I ended up losing some just either by garden getting full, or I just sold them by mistake, so these are all that I have right now. But if you feel like it, you can keep your eggshell trophies and put them wherever you'd like, just as a extra little flex or showcase for your garden. Another small tip, if you're raising Chao with good stats or you're just pretty avid in doing the races, you'll unlock certain items, like you can see the TV here, the Jack in the Box, there's a ball up in the Hero Garden, there's a radio down in the Dark Garden, there's also a ball here. There's certain items that they can pull out, such as like a pogo stick and other usable items that they just have on their person. So if you're interested in that, that's just kind of cool interactions you can have in the Chao Garden if they decide to do it. So knock some races out, see what items you can get from those. I know I've still been getting some here and there, even though I thought I had them, but that just goes to show you, you never know. Alright everyone, I'd go ahead and say that's about all the tips that I can come up with now without repeating myself. Got a little lost along the way, what I said and what I didn't say, but that's about all I can get for you guys in this video until I sit down and brainstorm some more. Just as some closing words, you know, I'm still looking for some names on my unnamed Chao that I'm raising, like the Mint Chao and a few of the other newborns that I have that are still just tucked away in the neutral or dark garden, not being used yet. So if you want to request a name, I'll think about those, or if you even want to request a custom Chao, I'll start up the second memory card, or I'll send another Chao over. Just we can have a little fun with that and see where it goes. So just keep that in mind, and hope you enjoyed all the tips and tricks. And until next time, this was Powers. Thanks again.